Of Somali refugees from the Daadab refugee camp in Kenya does not meet international standards for voluntary return. This is according to a report published by international rights group Human Rights Watch.
The organization says most of those who have returned to Somalia have done so out of fear of eventually being forcefully repatriated. The report further accuses the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, of failing to give refugees accurate information on the security situation in Somalia. Kenya announced in May this year that it is closing the camp, linking it to several terror-related attacks in the country. Both the Kenyan government and UNHCR did not respond to questions by the SABC, indicating that they were still studying the report. Kimani covered the story.
Until mid-last month, 24,000 Somali refugees had returned to Somalia, 18,000 of whom have returned this year. Out of those, 10,000 returned after the Kenyan government announced that the camp would be closed in November this year. The returns, Human Rights Watch says, are illegal and involuntary.
In the camp, local government officials are also going to refugee community leaders and putting pressure on them, intimidating them to get their communities to sign up to return now. There is this lingering deadline of the November closure, which is hanging over refugees, and that is what is making them feel they have to go back.
In interviews recorded at the camp by the rights group, those who have returned to Somalia have come face to face with persecution, hunger, and war. The Daadab refugee camp, where at least 260,000 Somali refugees are sheltered, is now witnessing a spike in the number of returnees from Somalia. The camp in Somalia was not safe at all. 10 days after I gave birth, at around 3 p.m., a gunman entered my tent and put a gun in my mouth. I had no clothes on my upper body because it was too hot that night. And the man sat beside me. He told me to keep quiet. I wanted to shout and cry, but I thought he would kill me, so I just kept quiet. Then he raped me inside my tent. I would advise these people who are planning to go back to Somalia now to stay here in Kenya, because Somalia is not a safe place to live. It is a place where women can be raped easily. At the end of last month, the repatriation process was suspended after local authorities in Jubaland, one of the areas bordering Kenya where the refugees are returning, said it lacked capacity to assist the refugees.
A lot of those who are going back are from the 2011 famine. These are people who come from areas of the country which are still controlled by Al-Shabaab. They cannot go back to their areas of origin, and so they're ending up in internally displaced people's camps in the towns, Kismayo, Baidoa, etc. That's not a livelihood, that is not sustainable, and it's also very unsafe.
Those who return to Kenya find themselves without legal status, as the Kenyan government is not registering new refugees. Kimani, SABC News, Kenya.